Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this was a little interesting bit of news that I had happened to stumble across that I figured was worth mentioning. Everyone's talking about Star Wars right now with the Ahsoka series and how great that's doing. But we also saw the highly anticipated trailer for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon come out not too long ago. Now, that was supposed to be Zack Snyder's Star Wars movie because he was slated to do a Star Wars movie, but for whatever reason, that didn't pan out. And it looks like he and his team kind of took a shot at Star Wars, which seems to be the thing to do anymore, taking shots at Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, all of that. People are just being a little bit more free with their words lately, and honestly, good. Now, I just want to make this very clear. I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan. I do appreciate some of the things that he's done, the projects that he's worked on, 300, Watchmen. I do like the Justice League movies. I know some of you might not like that, but, you know, it is what it is. I like them. You don't have to. No big deal. But anyway, getting back to this, I found this really telling about what he and his team have said about Rebel Moon not being a Star Wars movie, and it's pretty much something that a lot of people have talked about in the past. So during a screening of the Rebel Moon trailer, a couple journalists were able to speak to Zack Snyder and his team, and this quote right here is very telling, and this comes from Zack Snyder's wife, Deborah Snyder, who is a producer on Rebel Moon and a lot of other projects he's worked on in the past. It says the comparison between Rebel Moon and Star Wars aren't idle ones, as the two films were actually linked upon inception. Quote, once it was a Star Wars film, and I never wanted it to be. I remember I said to Zack, quote, I just feel like your hands are going to be tied so much in what that IP is, even though it kind of lived outside of it. So I was kind of happy when that fell apart, because I always felt like it was better. We learned so much with all of our years working with superheroes and creating those worlds, and to do something now that's wholly original, I'll talk about that in just a second. We got to do a little bit of that in the world of zombies and with Las Vegas, but to do something that is fantastical, we say it's a science fantasy more than science fiction, and to take all those skills that Zack has been honing and to do something in this space just seemed really exciting. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is saying that this is wholly original. I highly disagree. If you watch the trailer, this is essentially sequel, trilogy, Star Wars type stuff. I mean, it's pretty clear as day. I mean, they have lightsabers, you have their rendition of Rey Skywalker, you have the Empire. I mean, it's almost identical to Star Wars. It clearly is more adult, I would say, and it's going to be more adult. But to say this is wholly original is a flat out lie. I'm going to call it like it is, regardless. But the funny thing is, when they said, I just feel like your hands are going to be tied so much in what that IP is, that is such a truthful statement. We have seen that time and time again where you have directors leaving Star Wars projects, and not even just Star Wars. We've seen that with Disney as a whole. With Marvel, you have these directors that come in and they have their own ideas about something, and they are hogtied. They cannot. They like, here you go, here's a script, you do exactly what we tell you to do, and that's that. That is not how Zack Snyder works. I just thought that that was a very, very telling thing that a lot of people within the industry know how Disney, Marvel, and all of them work. At the end of the day, you're a puppet. You're going to do exactly what they tell you to do. Otherwise, you're not going to work here. And we've seen that time and time again. So later on, they continue, and producer Eric Newman echoed Deborah's sentiments in terms of Rebel Moon moving away from Star Wars. Quote, I remember Zack calling me at some point, and this has got to be 15 years ago, saying, I think I'm going to do 7 Jedi in the Star Wars universe. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Then a few years later, he calls me and goes, you know, I think it could be a television show. And I'm like, yes. Let's do this. Fuck Star Wars. Let's do this as a TV show. And one of the movies that we talked about way back when, from the beginning, I think we probably bonded over, was Heavy Metal, which I know most of you know. It was an R-rated science fantasy thing that kind of blew our minds, and you're going to see that there are a lot of influences, and a lot of that has made its way into this film. They're basically throwing shade at Star Wars. Now, I don't think they're throwing shade at the original George Lucas depiction of Star Wars. I think it's pretty clear as day they are throwing shade at Disney's Star Wars in general. I could be wrong. I don't know. But they are definitely flipping the bird at Star Wars, flipping the bird at Disney, because at the end of the day, they own Star Wars, and saying, you know what? We don't want to be a part of your IP. We're glad we're doing our own thing, and we're going to do it better because you people don't know what you're doing. Now, I agree with that because Star Wars is in a horrible, horrible state right now. I think it's been that way for a long time, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. Do I think Rebel Moon is the answer? Do I really think this is going to be a Star Wars killer? Maybe. I just don't know if it's going to be as good as everyone's making it out to be. Honestly, it looks just like an R-rated version of maybe what Disney has already put out. That's what I think it's going to be. But who knows? Regardless, I just thought it was interesting that they were openly like, yeah, F Star Wars, screw them. We're going to be better. We don't want our hands tied, and we don't want them controlling what we do. We want to do our own thing. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think about Rebel Moon? Did you see the trailer? Do you think this is going to be the Star Wars killer? Or do you think it's going to fall flat on its face? Let me know down below. I always love to hear your thoughts. If you liked the video, hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, take care.